Questions? Sorry. Oh, yes. You're on.
It's such a nice microphone. So question for Chief Beltran. My colleague reported this week on the NYPD encrypting radio frequencies in 6 precincts in Brooklyn North. Is this going to be expanded out citywide, and is there going to be a carve-out for the press where they'll still be able to access the frequencies?
So yes, we do plan to expand this upgrade in our technology, by the way, which is 40-year-old technology that we're upgrading from, is a multi-year process in terms of preparing the infrastructure to support that upgrade. So we will be expanding it, and we've been looking at other cities, and we continue to explore other options to enable media access consistent with what the technology supports and what other cities, the success that other cities are having.
So are you limiting? I'm sorry.
We got Juliet Papa.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. So would you be limiting then for anybody to particular precincts only, or does that expand, or how is that going to work, borough to borough?
The plan is for the digital upgrade to be citywide, and for the encryption capabilities under that digital upgrade to also be deployed citywide.
Dollar Miles, ABC.
Okay. A few follow-up questions with that. First of all, yes, it is 40-year-old technology, but is the department having any difficulty with interference with other actors on the frequency, broadcasting the frequencies? And so is part of the motivation to keep certain individuals off the frequency? And then secondly, the NYPD has a lot of partners in the community. So how do you plan to respond, communicate with the FDNY and other agencies during a big emergency if you guys are encrypted and others are not?
So we have a history of our radios being used against us. Our radio is one of the most important technologies, one of the most important tools that we provide to police officers and that we train them in. And because it's more important than their firearm and anything else that they have in terms of being able to respond to incidents, to also being able to request assistance. So that capability is thwarted because more or less we're licensed to use those frequencies and those channels, but they're also hijacked by sometimes our adversaries and bad actors who look to do exactly that.
Are you also finding a lot of novice sleuths showing up in addition to the media? What does that? Can you explain what type of obstacle that may present for the department?
Well, I think we do have some people that intentionally try to disrupt our mission-critical communication. You have enthusiasts, right? So I think those are the groups of people that are out there. That's why we're exploring these capabilities. You mentioned the question. The second part of your question was about partners. We've been in communication with our partners. We have memorandums of understandings with people, with other first responders and other groups, EMS, other groups outside the city that we share communications with. And we've been in communication with them about this upgrade, and we're providing assistance to them so they can enable access to our systems, and we're going to continue to do that as we move forward.
How's it going so far?
It's going great.
Next question is going to be from Steve Yang.
Hi, I'm a freelance photographer covering a lot of breaking news in the city, and will you be allowing media access to the encryption? Because it seems awfully suspicious to encrypt them. Yes, you're upgrading technology, but without giving any specific examples of interference. Can you tell us about one instance of interference with the radios?
We have, like I said, we have a history, so I think we can provide examples of that history.
Can you provide one?
Through DCPI. I won't do that now because the type of interference, like I said, is widespread, and we have a lot of examples that we can share with the media.
And, it seems like there should be some recognition of trusted media sources, because our common enemy here is false information on social media. You have all these people on the street with cell phones telling everyone what they think happened. Don't you see the importance of having news organizations that have a relationship with you guys to be able to have access to this information?
So in addition to digital technology and communications and radio, Encryption has been out there for a while. We've used encryption for a while for years on certain channels. Other cities have gone encrypted and have dealt with these issues also. That's why we're exploring to see what's the best option to strike that balance between keeping police officers safe, keeping the community safe, and making sure that there's appropriate media access and information for transparency in the city.
All right, next question will be from Usman from Loud Labs.
Good morning. Last year, Chicago encrypted their frequencies and San Francisco. I just wanted to ask, will there be access to the media through like an app like Broadcastify on a 15 to 30-minute delay? Because it seems that you're not really giving like examples of what are you trying to provide media access, even though it's a 40-year-old technology.
So part of our research, part of our implementation, and Institute of New Technology is looking to see what those other cities have done. So that's all part of the exploration and research process.
All right, we're going to go over to John Doyle from CBS.
This question is for the Chief Detectives, Essig. Chief, just two questions. July 19th, there's a video floating around of a yellow cab driver that was beaten by a few passengers. I understand they have 2 arrests. And one of the questions last night in the 6-7 precinct, a 16-year-old girl was hit allegedly by a stray bullet. Just any update you have on that case?
Yeah, the cab driver being beaten, there was 2 arrests by responding patrol officers. The Detective Bureau is endeavoring to identify the 3 to 4 other males who were involved in that. As far as yesterday's shooting, that was last night at Utica and Linden Boulevard, we have a male who works as a security guard in Brooklyn. He's getting off work. As he's exiting the bus, there's a group of kids where he describes as younger gentlemen who prevented him from getting off the bus. There was some sort of dispute. He notices a firearm. He flees. Shots were fired. He was struck, and the unintended 16-year-old was struck too. So that's about 12 hours old, and the detectives are out there right now scouring the area for video.
I'm sorry, Chief, just on the cab driver, do they know if these were passengers in his cab and what the dispute was about?
Don't know what the dispute was about right now, but they weren't passengers in the vehicle as far as we could tell.
All right, next question will be from Olya.
Hi, I'm asking about encryption again. So if everybody asked the same question, what access would press have? And I don't feel like I kind of heard the answer quite yet. And I mean, the encryption already began. So we're already having an issue to where we can't access certain neighborhoods. And I mean, I feel like there should be a more clear response to where media is going to be with all of this, because even if it's a 30-minute delay, that's also an issue for accountability, for a lot of other things that are important for us.
Well, like you mentioned before, we already have 3 zones that are encrypted, but we have dozens of zones in the police department, and the infrastructure to support converting all those zones to digital and to encryption are still more than a year and a half away. So I know it is a concern. I've discussed it with members that represent you in terms of for this particular issue, and we are exploring every possibility to strike that right balance, like we said before.
Is there a timeline, maybe? Since 3 precincts are already encrypted, is there a timeline?
Not at this time.
All right, we're going to go over to Juliet Papa, 1010 Wins.
Yeah, for Deputy Commissioner Stewart. Talk about the concerns regarding teen-on-teen gun violence. The borough president of the Bronx just about a week and a half ago had a big news conference after 4th of July weekend. So many young people were shooting at each other. Is there a plan to address this, and what's involved?
Yes, our plan that we have is to set up programs for our youth and our kids to attend. We understand that we can't have them in the streets with nothing to do. So we have an options program in the Bronx, we have one in Brooklyn, and we have one in Queens. The options program, we teach our young kids how to de-escalate situations. We teach them finances. We have a weight room. We keep them occupied on different activities that they could do, because our main concern is that they're not hanging on the street. And what we do teach them is life experiences. How if they get approached by a gang member, how to answer it, and it's the virtue a reality. It's a headset that they put on. They can answer like yes or no, because nowadays in our technology, we have to engage them. So our main point is to mentor them and get them to understand how the streets could be a disaster to them. But we also have to take our programs and understand that there's a lot of kids that say, listen, we were in a gray area. Without these programs, I could have made a left, but they made a right. I think sometimes that we concentrate on the few bad apples who are not doing that well. And the programs we have an Explorer a program too. We have over 1,700 kids. We have the SYEP with the mayor, who last year we had 800 kids. This year he invested more, so we have over 1,000 kids in our summer youth employment. They're in all the precincts. They're in all the housing. They're in all transit. They're in our aviation. They're in our harbor. So our main goal here is to show them that there's other ways. And another way that we benefit from these factors with these kids is that they get to tell us about their communities and what's going on in our communities. Then we're able to send our community affairs officers to these communities, and then we address it. So we definitely tackle, we know our number one our priority is public safety. But our communities also comes first too. So the more knowledge that we get about our teens, that we'll keep these programs going. And listen, and those teens who did make a left, we're not going to give up on them. We got to keep showing up to let them know that we're still here and we're engaging in them.
All right, we're going to take one or two more questions. Tina Moore, New York Post.
Hi, sorry to keep jumping around on you, but Chief Essick, this is for you. Back to the cab driver. I know you said there were 2 arrests. The DA has no record of that. Did they get DATs, the 2 people, do you know?
They were charged with assault.
They're actually charged with assault. And the other 3 guys are just in the wind, right? All right. And again, you don't know what the dispute was about, right?
No,
okay.
Detectives are actively looking at those 4 additional persons.
All right, we're going to go over to Mark Morales, CNN.
Hey guys, how you doing? First question was about radio encryption, and I know that there's going to be all these upgrades that are coming, but is there going to be anything in addition to just the nature of encryption, which is people can't listen in? Like, will any of these radio transmissions be stored for any amount of time? Will it be used as evidence or discovery in any sort of case? Is any of that going to happen at all? Like, is there any, like what other upgrades are we going to have in addition to that, if any?
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, thanks for the question. But everything that we currently maintain that we're required to disseminate in terms of an arrest, freedom of information, all that will continue to be maintained, and we will be able to get that post-incident. So that's all the current system is going to stay the same in terms of how we retrieve information, requests for information after an incident. I think the issue here is really real-time communications of our mission-critical voice.
All right, we're going to start winding down, folks. We got 1 or 2 more questions. Tom Tracy, Daily News.
Hi, thank you very much for taking a minute. Real quick, regarding the encryption, volunteer ambulance services, like community groups, that kind of thing. Have you already in those communities where it went dark? Are you sharing the encryption codes so they can access, so the volunteer ambulance corps can go and respond?
So as you can imagine, this community, right, radio experts, radio technicians, radio enthusiasts, and emergency responders, they're a tight-knit community. So we're in communication with all our partners who work with us and have agreements with us to monitor and transmit on our radio systems. They know the changes that we're making. They know what they need to do to be able to get access. Some of them have done that already, so we're in the progress of doing it. And we're going to continue to do that for not just the people within New York City that are our partners and first responders, but also neighboring communities and neighborhood counties. By the way, many of which are already encrypted. So.
And what would you say, just for the critics that say that this is just another way of stopping transparency in the NYPD, that you're stopping people from getting this information on a timely basis? What's your response to that?
I've worked IT around 14 years in this police department, and I'm excited that we're introducing new viable technology that helps keep the public safe and helps keep our police officers safe. That's what I would say to them.
All right, our final question will be from John Doyle, CBS.
Chief Essig, I just had one last question concerning the stabbing in Midtown North on the pier. I understand there was an arrest made and the man's being brought back for court. Can you just recap the case and just tell us about the suspect?
So that was on West 44th Street and 12th Avenue, and it occurs on Thursday, July 13th. We have a male who we later arrest, and I'll give his information out. He sees social media posts that disturbed him. I believe he's seen his girlfriend dancing with another male, and he vowed to stab the first person he's seen. He goes down, and there's a male 35 years old individual sleeping on the bench, and he stabs him, causing his demise. Detectives were able to get information that he took an Amtrak train out to Chicago, Illinois. We alerted Chicago, Illinois. He was brought back yesterday. He is being charged with murder in the second degree. His name is Louis Gill. He was also charged with a 10th precinct robbery in which he stole the money and marijuana from an individual, and that robbery was from earlier in July.
Can we have him talk about the pattern, the chain snatching pattern in the Bronx? Yeah, Chief, could you talk about the chain snatching pattern in the Bronx and also another pattern of phone theft on the e-bikes in Manhattan? Thank you.
So we have two patterns that we call patterns. Grand larceny, and this is a common theme we see, and I believe Chief Shell talked about it with our scooters, electric bikes, bicycles, very easy to get away. So in one case in Manhattan, we have 3 cases between June 26th and June 27th. They're all on the Upper West Side. Our 3 victims, properties are taken from their hand or their bicycle. We have very good images out of a blue scooter, male with a multicolored shirt. And again, that's a common thread with our robberies, our grand larcenies, even our shootings, where you see 2 individuals on a scooter, usually the back one shoots. In the Bronx, 8 cases between June 25th and July 14th. These are 2 individuals in the dark color mopeds. They snatch chains off all female victims. Sometimes they push them to the ground. Again, good images out. These are happening in the Riverdale section and Eastchester section of the Bronx.